Hey everybody, it is Brian Nemhauser, and this is episode 50 of Real Hawk Talk, and it's going to be an awesome and special episode, not just because we have the normal crew here, but we've got a special guest, and he's going to be with us for the whole show, which is pretty cool. Before I get to that special guest, we'll introduce our normal crew. First, Real Jeff Simmons, at Real Jeff Simmons on Twitter.
What's up?
Jeff, how you doing, dude?
I'm good, man. Episode 50.
I know. I wish I could say I could remember episode 1, but I really can't even remember like episode 45. So
crazy, man.
That's just being old. And your internet connection seems solid. So weather's good in Toronto.
Yeah, it seems all right.
Okay, good. And then I think I just saw someone fly through the screen with horrible pizza. That would be Evan Hill is that Domino's, dude?
Wait, I thought you said you liked Domino's.
Domino's is the worst. It's
whoa.
Whoa.
Wait.
You told me it was your favorite pizza.
No, you're remembering somebody else, dude. Domino's. Yeah, I won't get into their outside pizza issues that I don't like about Domino's, but then there's
what's your take on Pizza Hut, Brian?
Pizza Hut's good.
You're bad. Shut down the podcast. Game over.
Stuffed crust, barbecue chicken is solid at Pizza Hut. So don't know what to tell you. Evan, where are you, dude? You don't look like you're home.
I am in Twin Falls, Idaho, a location I have never been. I just finished driving about 10 hours. I am dropping off my car at my new place in Arizona. And I am so committed to the podcast that I walked into the the hotel door 30 minutes ago, and here I am.
Appreciate it, dude. And glad to know you guys are making progress. Now, as excited as I am to have both Jeff and Evan on the show, and Evan making a special sacrifice for us tonight, I have to admit I'm a little bit more excited about the next guy I'm going to introduce. Most of you know him as Cable Thanos, and we have gotten to know him as Josh. Josh, it is wonderful to have you on. How you doing, dude?
I'm good, man. This is like being on your like favorite TV show. I've watched this podcast like every week for so long, and now I'm like on it. It's surreal. It's like my dream come true.
Oh, dude, we gotta work on upping your dreams a little bit. Although very appreciated, humbled by that. So for folks that have not followed you or followed your meteoric rise, tell us about like how this got started for you. Like, when was the first video you posted?
So trying to remember. So I've always been just posting stupid stuff for a while, just whatever comes across my mind. And I posted a video of a compilation of Tom Cable offensive line mishaps, or I guess you could say just day-to-day average plays. And it was played to a Drake song, and then it transitioned to the Mike Solari era. And this is kind of how my whole, like, I guess you could say my persona is the whole Tom Cable, Mike Solari kind of the whole transition there. But I played it to a Drake song, and that kind of got more attention than I expected because I only had like 500 followers when I posted that. And then I just kept posting more videos, and then I made a video after the Lions video, and then included you guys actually because I was watching you guys, and you guys, especially Evan, would make very definitive statements, so it was perfect for the video. And then it got like 1,000 likes or something like that. I was like, wow, like I didn't even think it was that good. I just posted it because I thought it was like funny, and then it just got crazy attention. So I just made the next one, and then like people like Mina Kimes were like drawing in attention for it and stuff. Like people with like 250,000 followers are retweeting. I was like, what is going on? And then as people saw the latest one, Russell Wilson retweeted it, he quote tweeted it, which is even crazier. Especially because his like timeline is so pristine. It's like so calculated, and there's nothing even close to controversial on there. And he quote tweeted it, and it was like, I read that and I had to like check his profile like 8 times to see if it was actually him. And then and I was just like reacting. I was just like, I reacted, and he kept replying to me. And then of course he asked me to make another video. So I had a 8 a.m. final the next day, a math final, which I wasn't ready for at all. I hadn't studied all day, and it was like 8 p.m. when he sent me that. So I stayed up all night doing the final and doing the video. And then I finally got it uploaded. I did the final and then finally uploaded around 3. And then when he got off practice, he sent me that video inviting him over to play like Smash Bros with him. And yeah, the rest is history. I called his brand guys on Monday, and they talked me through about what's going to go on. And they said that they can't have time to play during the season because obviously he's only free on Tuesdays, and that's when he does like the hospital visits and stuff like that. But after the season's over, which is hopefully in a while, we're gonna do it like as soon as possible.
That's a crazy story.
I know. Dude, I still don't even think it's real.
I have to tell you, like, so I've got a 17-year-old who's pretty much almost your age, and I asked him, had you seen any of these Cable Thanos videos? And this is back after you did the one that had us in it. He's like, yeah, it was really cool. All my friends liked it, except for the part when you guys were in it, and it totally ruined it.
You guys need to make more definitive, like ESPN first take statements so that I can throw it in there, because that makes it feel much more emotional and stuff.
Yeah. Evan, can you help us there?
Yeah,
I'll try
exactly.
my best, but I have to remain authentic.
Yeah.
Jeff, were you going to ask a question?
I can jump in. What's been your favorite video so far?
My favorite?
Yeah, you've made a couple home runs there.
Most popular one was the one with Colin Cowherd at the beginning. So I think that one was my favorite. Everyone's still like, I'll still randomly get people quote tweeting that. Yeah, I think that one was probably my favorite. I want to put you guys in more of them because it's just like, it keeps it like true to Seahawks Twitter. But,
well,
yeah.
I mean, one of the things that we've all marveled at is you've got a remarkable grasp of like the pulse of Seahawks Twitter. and you mix that with like the national perspective and all that kind of stuff. When did you get on Seahawks Twitter? Like, do you remember even like what got you here and
yeah,
when you started?
I know exactly why I got. So I used to go on Reddit all the time, which is a stupid thing. Don't do that. If you are thinking of doing that, don't do that, because it's just they seem like they know a lot more than they do. And then as the more I went on Reddit, the more I realized it was like not good, and I realized most of their posts are posts from Twitter. And I made a Twitter account. I did it to like just post Seahawks pictures because I like graphic design, so I'd like make pictures, and then I'd start following more and more people, and I realized it was just like it's a million times better than Reddit.
So what was your first like interaction with like someone on Twitter that you started to get to know? Like, did you like, I'm curious both like when you started getting into Twitter, and then I'm also curious like when you found Evan.
When I can't even remember. Evan was like one of the first people I followed.
Oh my
I was like
God.
one of those people
that explains so much.
I know, he's like influenced me. I've like grown up with him.
Everybody on should know that Evan and Josh are the same age. But go on, continue.
Yeah. Although we're at very different points in our life. He just got married, and I'm very far away from that.
Congratulations to you both, to be honest.
Me too. I'm in my 30s. I'm still very far away from that.
So how did you become a Seahawks fan?
My earliest memory as a Seahawks fan is the Super Bowl XL when I was like I don't even know how young I was. Probably 10. Yeah, probably around 10.
Now I feel old.
And I remember Marcus Trufant getting that interception. I was probably a Seahawks fan before that, but that's like my first memory. And ever since then, I've like every single game. I don't think I've missed a game since like in the last 10 years, I haven't missed a game. And yeah, it's just I don't know why, but I just got super into them. Like my dad and my mom aren't super into them. No one in my family is into them. That probably what drew me to Twitter, because no one in my family even likes the Seahawks.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, does your family have any concept of what's going on with you and the content you're creating?
Yeah, my dad, I just told him for the first time like a few days ago about the Russell Wilson video, and he was like, what? Like, because it was just like, I didn't even tell him about my Twitter account. So he's like, wait, what? Like, he didn't even think it was real at first. And then my mom, she immediately started crying. Like, right away. I was like, it was like the two opposite reactions you'd get. But yeah, all my friends, two of my friends are actually probably watching this right now. But yeah, they're freaking out just as much as I am. But yeah, it's insane. It's hard to like grasp it being real.
What's it like to live in your mind?
I've heard that asked a lot. I don't know.
A lot of shoddy videos.
Yeah.
No, but like seriously, you obviously have a level of creativity that like 99% of people do not have, and I think that's what makes your content so special. It's just really cool to watch you create. Honestly,
thank you. Appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, can you walk us through like so Seahawks win? You tend to do them only after wins, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't want to make it after a loss because I don't even know what to make.
Good motivation for the team.
Yeah, right. Russell, I should tell Russell you're not getting a video until you win. Yeah.
They actually, to be honest, I'm going to get to my question in a second. But at the VMAC, I heard from I think his name is Corky, but they're like photographer. They actually have a victory mural, and the photographers get together the night after a win, and they stay up all night looking at like pictures from the game. And by Monday morning at like 5 a.m, when all the team walks in, there's an entire mural on a wall back of pictures from the game the night before, and it stays up until they win again. So if they lose a couple games, they get a little annoyed.
Yeah,
victory mural from a few weeks ago. So you're kind of in the same boat, but
yeah.
Walk us through like, okay, Seahawks win happens on a Sunday, like how do you start thinking about what you're going to create, and how does it go from idea to actual video?
So like the video of hold on, the video of Brian Schottenheimer. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Video of Brian Schottenheimer dunking on a Russell Wilson hoop that was made before the game even start or finish, because it's kind of like it's obvious, like something that's like a trope of the Seahawks season. So it wouldn't like matter how the game ends. Stuff like that where it takes a while to make kind of makes before, but everything else that had like the clips of the team, kind of what you'd expect, gets made right like the Sunday night. And then if I have homework, I usually try and do both of them at once, which usually doesn't work. But and then I'll have class Monday, and then I'll come home and start working on it. And yeah, I don't really tell anyone about it too, so I'm usually just chilling in my house, just working on it. But yeah, I do it all on iMovie, which is horrible decision. It's like so bad. I need to.
I can hook you up with Premiere Pro anytime you need it. So
I might have to take that on.
Yeah. So do you have like aspirations for this to turn into like? I mean, has anyone offered you a job already?
I got a job offer for like I can't even remember what it was. It was like a D5 hockey team to be their videographer. So I was like, I'll consider it, but
no.
Yeah,
oh, dude, they're trying to get you before the big boys really realize it. I'm surprised the Seahawks haven't offered you something yet.
Yeah, their Twitter account keeps like interacting with me, so it's like they're trying to make I'm like friends with them, I guess, but I guess I'm trying to steal their job too. So, but yeah, hopefully when I go to meet Russell, I'm gonna like try and sneak in like, hey, if you have anything you want me to like work for the Seahawks, just let me know. Like I'd love to work for you guys or something like that. Or even his West to East Empire team, which is just where I'm going. They're like business offices. I'm gonna ask them, just like slide it in. I'm not gonna try and make it like a big deal, but you know,
it's a good idea.
They might not fit your brand.
Say what?
They might not fit your brand. You
Yeah,
don't want to limit your creativity.
Yeah, I mean, do you like if everything went the way you wanted to? Like, do you have an idea of kind of what you want to do with you know what you're learning and what you're creating?
I don't know. All I know is I want to like make stuff because I like being creative. That's why I made the videos in the first place. So, no, I don't have an idea where I didn't even know that these videos were gonna catch on at all. Like I thought I was gonna I was doing it for like 20 people in mind on Seahawks Twitter who would get it in the first place. And just like Brian, you weren't even following me when I first started making these videos. They weren't even for like big time people like you. And now I just can't even believe how far it's come.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. And I mean, you got lightning in a bottle. You've got an amazing eye for kind of what's going on. And it's not just Seahawks Twitter. I think your perspective would probably be applicable to a lot of different things going on. So we'll talk more with you about it. I think it'll be fun to watch your rise continue. But I think you're going to be able to work for any social media brand that has any smarts. So if I was you, I'd be starting to think about where you want to work and then show them your results. And I think you get a lot of offers pretty fast.
Thank you. I got that Russell Wilson cosign, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have a little bit of cred.
Put that on your resume.
The street level and at the superstar level. So,
you think Russell can be a reference on your resume?
I'm gonna like print out a picture of Russell's tweet and put it on there and just see what.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you've got to have had millions of video views by now. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's like the video. The most recent one is at like 800,000 impressions, which is insane. Like,
damn,
it's amazing. It's amazing. Congrats, dude. It's really fun to see. So, I don't know, Evan and Jeff, if you got any more questions for Cable Thanos on his Cable Thanos mess, or we can start turning our attentions to talking Hawks.
I'm just looking forward to that deep playoff run.
Dude, I hope they keep winning too, just for my video's sake. I don't know what I'm gonna do in the off season.
I'm just saying that Super Bowl parade video is gonna be something. Ready.
What do you think Tom Cable looks like when he watches your videos?
I hope he's mad. I hope he's. Oh wait! I know what he looks like. He looks like this. He probably looks like this.
God damn it.
I tried to cue you up there, dude. We'll get this. We'll get this down a little.
Yeah, it's my first time.
All right, Jeff. You got to take us back to it. So, what are we going to talk about here? That game last week pissed me off.
Yeah. All the fun from Josh's interview. Now we got to go through that stupid game all over again. I know Evan was big on the run the table thing. It really seemed like that was possible. And I thought Brian did a great job capturing kind of what happened in that game, the truth about it, in his article this week on the Monday morning article. It took a very weird sequence of events for them to lose that game. But, Brian said it great. I was pissed off watching that. First off, we'll give credit to the Niners before we get into the Seahawks stuff. The Niners wanted that game bad. I don't know if it was a Richard Sherman thing. I don't know if it was the blowout a couple weeks ago, but Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator, was jumping on guys on the sideline. He was tackling his players. Mullins played as good as he can. That team played as good as they possibly can. And still, it took a weird and stupid sequence of events for the Seahawks to lose. So for me, I was mostly frustrated, even because the team, even with all their stupid errors and assignment mistakes and the penalties, they still should have won. At San Francisco, playing as good as they can, they still should have won and pissed that game away. So I think we're all going to have similar conclusions. But Evan, we'll start with you. You're the fieriest. And what were your main thoughts coming out of that game?
I think after thinking about it for a few days, it feels like a perfect storm of all these bad factors coming together to spell a loss. I completely agree with you. I think the 49ers, that's like the best you'll see them play. And I think for the Seahawks, that's pretty close to some of the worst you'll see them play. I mean, we've definitely seen worse, but with the combination of the penalties and the bad calls from the refs, we hate talking about bad calls from refs, but that was a really poorly, called game, especially that Shaq DPI, which was complete garbage in the end. It's the one. So I actually didn't watch the game live. I had to go back and rewatch the entire compressed game. But the one thing that really stood out to me was it was like there was a lack of, almost like a lack of not killer, kind of killer instinct, but like a lack of enthusiasm, a lack of like, not positivity, but I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like, it's what you said. The Niners wanted it more. Like the Seahawks, it's like they walked into there and expected that game to be a win. Like they were expected to be handed a win. That's discouraging.
I totally agree.
Like that's really discouraging for me from like a game preparing for that game. Like I think the coaches need to do a better job of making sure the players understand that no game is a gimme. And it just didn't look like they wanted it as bad. And I know that's a very surface level observation, but the Seahawks are not in the playoffs yet. They play the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, who are one of the best teams in the NFL. And then you play the Cardinals, I believe, at home. You could lose Sunday night and go into that Cardinals game expecting a win, and it could end up being a disaster. I'm not a negative person. I'm not pessimistic. I think they'll win that game. But I'm just saying they cannot go into these next two games with the same attitude and the same outlook that they did going into San Francisco, or they won't make the playoffs. It's I think it was very discouraging, at least for me.
Yeah, I think you hit on a good point. I think the energy, that was the word I would use coming out of the San Francisco sideline, that really jumped out to me. And Seattle looked a little monotone. I don't know if monotone's the right word, maybe lackadaisical. They looked like they were kind of just going through the motions. And that, to me, that was evident all game. And they were sloppy. And on the Minnesota game, the one we were kind of raving about, the defense played with such crazy energy. And that just didn't carry over. And Kyle Shanahan exposed Seattle and some of their weaknesses. And I know Jay Keeps was talking on the radio about how bad Austin Calitro was in his coverage. Apparently they said he found like 5-6 mental errors, and Heaps is a pretty positive guy too. So, Brian, what about you? What jumped out after going through that article, going through the film, and?
I'll go to that in a second. Austin Calitro, you want to know his Pro Football Focus grade for that game? Anyone care to guess? 100 being perfect, 60 being like average.
25?
30.
45.
25.2. Steph nailed it. Dude.
I didn't realize he was that bad, but Heaps was going on about him on 7-10 the other day.
No, I mean, the linebacker situation is in really bad shape. Arkevius Mingo is horrible. Like, he was a guy that was good last year for the Colts, or at least seemed to be, at least average, and he's one of the worst tacklers I have ever seen at the linebacker position. The guy couldn't tackle like his grandmother. Like it's bad. But I got a couple different takes on that game. So I 100% agree that the 49ers came out with more energy. I didn't think the Seahawks came out that flat. I think the 49ers really, really were focused on this game. One of the things I said last week heading into this game was I think there was evidence that Kyle Shanahan was finding a rhythm with Nick Mullins and that offense in the second half against the Seahawks, took it into Denver. George Kittle went off for over 200 yards receiving, and I think they came out playing reasonably well on offense. So I think Mullins played a good game. There were not many throws that were like bad throws. He just overthrew guys by a couple feet sometimes, but I thought he played well and was pretty decisive in getting rid of the ball. What stood out to me is, look, if the 49ers, if the only difference in this game was that the 49ers had Jimmy Garoppolo coming in, like if he was healthy and it was the same roster otherwise, I bet you that the reaction to this loss would be very different. And I bet you that going into it, people would have felt differently about it. I think this 49ers team, when they have decent quarterback play, is not a bad team. And I didn't think they got pretty decent quarterback play in that game. I think we can look at the record. CJ Beathard was the quarterback for a lot of those games and played like absolute shit. And Mullins has played a couple stinkers, but has played mostly well, and I think has started to find his rhythm. So I thought he played a good game. I think the Seahawks defense really struggled when Bradley McDougald went out. I think that the linebacker play was awful. I think there were just some real challenges there early on, and they slipped on the field. The only touchdown the 49ers scored in that game on offense was when Delano Hill or Tedrick Thompson, whoever it was, fell on his face, and the guys ran into the end zone. Otherwise, you're talking about field goals. Like, even with all of that, the 49ers offense scored 19 points in that game. Not that bad. Like, it's not like it was, it felt awful. It felt so frustrating, but it's not that bad. So, I don't know. Like, the emotional part of me that really was pissed off that weekend for a lot of other reasons and was really counting on the Seahawks to win that goddamn game like they should have won and just, like, enjoy the weekend. I was really annoyed. But the rational side of me, when I look at that, I don't know how you can look at Chris Carson's fourth down run and Dwayne Brown's helping and say that the Seahawks weren't trying hard and they weren't, like, giving their best. And I don't know how you can look at the extra point miss from Sebastian Janikowski and say that's an effort issue, or the kickoff return for the touchdown that's a effort. I don't know. So I just think that that's a very convenient fan reaction when we get frustrated about a team losing to a team with a really bad record. But I thought the 49ers played a pretty good game, and the Seahawks still should have won. And now we have a much more challenging end of this season than and anyone that's assuming that Arizona is a gimme hasn't been watching the Seahawks. The 2013 Seahawks lost to the Cardinals in the month of December.
Thank you.
So don't assume anything. Anyway, so that's I could go on, but that was kind of my reaction to that game. Other than that, I would just say I love Chris Carson. Thank God we have Chris Carson. I love watching that guy play, and I lied. I also really feel like, why the hell didn't they play J.D. McKissic more? I mean, that play in overtime was just a taste of what he can do for that offense that they have no one. Mike Davis cannot do anything like that. So I don't know why they refuse to insert one of their most explosive players into the backfield. So I'm hoping that changes.
Yeah, you hit on some good points. I think the three best players on the field in that game were all in the Niners, I believe. I think it was Buckner played a really, really good game. Solomon Thomas played a really good game. And George Kittle was amazing. And on the Seahawks side, there were some big positives that we haven't touched on to come out of that game. Jaron Reed has been an absolute beast. We haven't given him enough credit on this show. He dominated that fourth quarter when the Seahawks probably should have stolen that game and taken over. And Jaron Reed was as good as an interior rusher as I've seen in this whole Pete Carroll era. He was incredible. Doug Baldwin was awesome.
Oh, man.
Doug's had a season from hell. I can't imagine how hard it's been for him. And this looked like prime 2015 Doug Baldwin. That touchdown he made, both touchdowns were incredible. And he just makes such a difference. We were talking about it the week before, how the intermediate game just completely emptied and how he just opens things for other receivers. He was great. Those two were amazing. Carson's another one. On the negative, there were some big negatives for me, and we'll see what Josh's take is. Brian kind of alluded to a little bit of it. I thought Shoddy was awful. I thought Shoddy – they had 3 chances to win the game. There was the 2 fourth down drives late, and they're running the ball with no timeouts. And I don't know if that's a Pete thing or a Russell thing, but the one thing I can say with Shoddy is, because it's new this year, it's in the 2-minute drills, it's those dump offs to Mike Davis that eat up all this clock. And because that ever came in the Bevel offense. So I don't know if that's a Pete thing. I don't think it's a Russell thing. That is the most inefficient play in a 2-minute drill. It's so dumb. And even on some of those holding penalties, like they were running on 3rd and 5, and they had 3 first downs negated in obvious pass situations. I thought that was the most frustrating thing of the whole game. I thought Shoddy just took the game out of Russell's hands in the 4th quarter.
How in the world do you give up on 3rd and 14 in overtime? How do you do that?
Thank you. I am so freaking pissed off about that play. That was actually the climax of the game for me. 3rd and 15. 3rd and 15. You are backed up in your end zone. 4 minutes left in overtime. Your offense has Russell freaking Wilson at the helm, and you throw a running back dump off to the middle. You give up. You lay over the desk, and you let the 49ers take it to you. Are you serious?
Didn't the Chargers convert like a 15, 18-yard 3rd down on us a few weeks ago?
They did.
They did.
Went for about 50.
Like easy. It felt like easy.
How do you look your players in the eye the next day, or even on the sideline, when you're basically saying, I don't believe you can get 14 yards is not like 25 guys. And I'm not a math whiz, but I can tell you like 14 yards, that's 20%, 18% conversion rate. Like there's a 0% conversion rate for the types of plays he's calling on that. And it's literally the Seahawks have not converted, anything from that distance. So that really set me off, and he's just been doing that over and over again. So
so that stood out. And the second big negative for me was Ethan Posick at right guard.
Oh
my God,
and we haven't talked about him yet, and the holding penalties.
One guy Solari can fix.
Yeah, Ethan Posick, man, took 2 massive plays out of the game. That pass to McKissick should have set the team up to win the game, and Posick just looked like a turnstile. That brought back memories of Tom Cable. I know he's the 3rd string guard, but I think we were all kind of high on his technician, like his skills as a technician and how he can hold up in pass pro, maybe not so much run game. He got owned by Solomon Thomas. And those were legit holds. I might not have called the one in overtime, but because you can probably find a play like that on every play, but man, Posick single-handedly cost them the game.
Josh, are you going to be able to troll like people on the existing team, or just like people on the former team? That could kind of hurt your brand. With
Wait, what do you mean?
You realize everybody on Seahawks Twitter wants to see you like completely do a whole series on Posick.
Oh my God, I am just as pissed off as everyone else. Because wasn't he a 2nd-round pick?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh my God. I think so. Who was it that brought up that? Who was picked like right after him? Someone brought up something like
Juju on the Steelers.
Oh my God!
Damn it!
The problem is you can do that with every draft pick, like any team. But the fact that he can't even be a 3rd string guard is alarming.
Yeah, he came in and looked incompetent as hell.
I'm a graffiti Tom Cable's gravestone. I hate that man.
Okay.
Amen.
I'm not going to argue about Tom Cable. But there is a lot of evidence that Ethan Posick was a John Schneider pick. And
oh boy.
I'm telling you this because Posick was the only offensive lineman that the Seahawks drafted that Cable never visited. And I think that this is the year after Jermaine Ifedi in the 1st round. And there's a lot of people that believe that Schneider was like, I'm done with it, Cable. Like, I'm done with your personnel picks on offensive linemen. And he went and made the pick himself. And you can kind of look at Posick and see it. He doesn't look like or seem like a Cable lineman. He's doesn't fit the profile. But, man, I don't know. Maybe he's playing out of position. Jake Heaps was pretty high on him when he came on. He was talking about him like Steve Hutchison, if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
So
one bad Schneider pick to a million bad Tom Cable picks. So
it's true. I'm not going to sit here and defend Cable on that one.
So yeah, Josh, what about you? Well, we haven't touched. What were your main takeaways from the game?
So it's going to feel out of place because you guys are all very negative about it, even Evan. But I felt like I finished the game. Maybe it was because I had to watch it on Red Zone. So I missed like the Posick hold, although I saw it later, but I missed it when I was emotional.
Some broadcast didn't show it.
Oh, really? Okay. But I finished the game and I was like, all right, whatever. It's like we've already beaten them pretty bad. We showed that we're the better team clearly. And I don't know, it just felt like they just didn't show up because they knew that they needed one win left, and I don't know, I just didn't care. Like it felt like they knew the circumstances of the game, and it felt like you could just feel it watching it, I guess. And I don't know, I just felt like they're the better. I think they're better than the 49ers. I don't think that's a very bold statement to make, but I don't know, I'm just not worried about them because they're going to show up against the Chiefs. I feel like this Seahawks team, more than anyone, would just show up against the Chiefs, but not against the 49ers. And if they don't show up against the Chiefs, then I'm going to be really worried.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it was just another reminder of just how thin this team's margin for error was.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about it all preseason, and they've been playing so well the last 4 weeks and the last 5 weeks in the Rams game that you kind of forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
But this team still has major talent issues on defense. They're starting 3 guys who can't tackle. Austin Cletro was torn apart. The offense has their share of issues. So the way and the style they play leads to close games, and
Yeah.
a lot is asked on Russell and a small amount of passing attempts. So
I
to
think
me, that was a reminder of that. And just
like
going from Kendricks to Calitro. Oof.
Yeah. The bad parts of this team showed, like the shoddy offensive like play calling. I think that like showed we all knew that he can have games like he did, and Calitro, we know he's not like a superstar or anything. I think things that we knew already showed, and things like Bobby Wagner played well. I think Russell played decent for most part. Like the first few drives, he played good. Carson played good. So I don't know. I'm not too worried.
Did you guys see running that post route, man?
I heard about that. I wish I could have seen it.
Holy crap, he was 30 yards downfield and was like running to space. Seriously, he was moving. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see it.
You got to find it. I mean,
awesome.
it was pretty impressive. But yeah, I mean, here's something that I don't think people appreciate. I didn't really appreciate it until I started getting really annoyed with people on Twitter this week and looking up some stats. This was the second game all year that the Seahawks lost when they were favored. The other one was going to be surprised. They lost to the Chargers when they were favored by 1 point at home. But by and large, this team is taking care of business. They've beat the teams they were supposed to beat. And they've lost to the teams that they're supposed to lose to. So I don't think that's really appreciated by the fan base in general. It hadn't clicked with me, but we've seen the Seahawks in past years drop games to teams they really just had no business dropping them to, like that were way, way, way below their level. And maybe a couple of games like that in year 2 or 3. This team hasn't really done that. I definitely would not consider that Chargers game like dropping a game they were supposed to win, even if they were favored. That's a tough matchup. But this was their first egg that they laid, like all year. I would say the Broncos game would qualify as another one for me, but it's a little hard when it's the first game of the season and they were just playing such a different style. Since they started playing this style, they've been really, really consistent. Like week in, week out, they are pretty much the same team.
And I saw, Brian, you were kind of going on not a tirade, but this morning on Twitter, there's a concern, there's a narrative going around, and I get where it comes from, that the Seahawks have a tendency to play up to better opponents and down to weaker opponents. And the Pete Carroll era, we've talked about on this show a lot this year, how in the past, not so much this season, but they've had very frustrating games against teams they probably should have easily beat and then had to scrape it out in the fourth quarter. What did you come up with? Because you seemed a little irked this morning.
Well, I mean, I understand why people feel that way, but I think it's a little bit of an illusion. I think that people are where that's happened before is generally divisional games, like losing to the Cardinals that were not a good Arizona team, or losing to the 49ers that was not a good San Francisco team, losing to the Rams when the Rams were not a good football team, but they were almost all divisional games. there's some examples of them running into trouble against like the Tampa Bay Bucks back in 2013 when they fell behind 20-0, but they won that game. Like there are some examples, but God, I mean, I've watched the Seahawks footballs for a very long time, longer than either Evan or Josh have lived. And I've seen teams that even Mike Holmgren's team, which I respected a lot, there are games they were on and there are games that they were not, and they just didn't bring it. And it was really obvious. It's really hard to tell the difference with Pete Carroll's teams. They come to play pretty much every week. And the evidence is that of the games that the Seahawks have been favored in since 2010, I think it is. Yeah, since Pete Carroll started. And since games that they were underdogs, they have the third highest winning percentage for both. So, of anyone in the league over that period of time. So when they're favored to win, they win. When they don't, they still have a higher winning percentage than others. And they have the second highest point differential over that period of time. So I just think that, I think it's just recency bias. And I think people just start getting frustrated about the game that they just lost. But I don't see it. I don't see a team that plays up or down. I see a team that's very consistent.
And Evan, you've criticized them from the past. So do you agree with that, or are you still a little pissed off with them?
I'd like to see like their blowout percentage to, compared to like, whether they're expected to win or not relative to like other teams. I know one component that comes into this is we've talked about this a million times. It's Pete Carroll ball. You know what I mean? To keep things close and, run the football and, not score 57 million points on the opponent. I get it. And I like a lot of that. It's just frustrating to watch. I've got nothing else. It's just frustrating to watch sometimes. It really is. Pete Carroll ball is not – I respect Pete a lot. I think he does a lot of things really well, but Pete Carroll football is not always the most enjoyable.
I agree with you. I think it's like even the games we should win, they're not always pretty, and the games we should lose, they're not pretty too. Every game is close, which isn't always a good thing. And even when I was talking to Russell's brand guys, they were even talking about that. Like the guys who literally work for Russell, they were like, yeah, you know how it goes. Like even games where we feel like we should lose or we should win, they're not pretty too. So no, I agree. I think it's yeah.
You're having too much fun with your Pete Carroll pictures.
Speaking of a Pete ball,
how
about the Rams?
Oh yeah.
What about it? I mean, it's Jared Goff looking like Jared Goff, man.
I want to pat myself on the back for a second. I took a lot of shit after one of the Seahawks games on Twitter when I said Jared Goff wasn't that good. I said he was a product. I said when pressure got around him, he crumbled, and I took a lot of crap. I'm enjoying the hell out of this.
Jeff, I believe in the preseason you said that this could potentially be like the 2017 Seahawks, but for the Rams. Did you say that, or am I mixing you up with somebody else?
No, all year I was kind of upset because I thought the Rams were eventually going to crumble.
Yeah.
And my issue with them is everyone talked about, they got the cheap quarterback, they're perfectly built. Almost everyone they've brought in on that has stunk. Like Sue has been kind of a dud.
You know what?
Has been hurt. Peters has sucked.
Thank you. Their defense is a joke.
Yeah.
Like they poured so much money into that defense and so much capital, and it's bad. It's really bad. I think that could spell the end for them in the playoffs, to be honest.
Well, here's the best part is that they really are spending like win this year or bust. If they don't win the Super Bowl this year, I don't think there's a lot of reason to expect they're going to win it next year. And you could make a pretty decent case. I mean, their offensive line, which is a strength of theirs, they've got a lot of old guys on that line, or at least their best player is really old. I don't know how much more time or how many years they're going to sign him for. And I think there's a case to be made that the 49ers actually may be in better shape to be a contender next year than the Rams. I think depending on how things play out, especially with the pick they're going to get, the reason that they are so bad is because they've lost their quarterback so early. They're getting him back next year, and they're going to potentially have the number 1 overall pick or number 2 or something like that. So,
are we sure Jimmy Garoppolo is even good?
he's all right.
We don't know. We don't know.
I think he's better than Jared Goff.
True.
Okay, actually, I don't disagree with that. that's where we agree, Brian.
And I think Kyle Shanahan is right up there with Sean McVay. I think because they've been having such a bad record, everyone's down on him. But I think that guy is a brilliant offensive coach. So
I have a question for you, Brian. Is Pete Carroll the 3rd best head coach?
I was just about to ask that.
no, he's the best of the 3. He's the best in the division by far.
Better than Sean McVay?
Absolutely. What are you basing this on? What is how many playoff games has Sean McVay won?
Hasn't Sean McVay been a head coach for like 1 year? Like 1.5 years.
Yeah.
So you can't bring the historical argument into it because he's been assistant coaches, right?
So then the same argument applies, Evan. So doesn't he have to prove that he's good? He hasn't proven anything yet.
No, and that's a fair take, actually. I wasn't really basing it on like historical accomplishments, but like right now, like, you know, take the same team. Do you want Pete Carroll or Sean McVay presiding over your team right
now? Pete Carroll. Yeah. Look, this is going to be a rehash of similar things we've had before. So we won't go all the way down there, but I don't think that there's almost any coach in the NFL that would have more wins with this Seahawks roster than Pete Carroll has had with this roster. And that's not because I think Pete Carroll's the best coach in the NFL or anything like that. This roster's built for Pete Carroll, and it's built the way he wants to play. I also happen to think that the Seahawks can absolutely get a better offense coordinator than Brian Schottenheimer. 100%. Would never argue that. But I think people just keep forgetting the fact that, like, Drew Brees has Sean Payton. They were a great pair. He's a brilliant offensive mind, one of the best quarterbacks to ever play. And the years that they didn't have a running game and a defense, they were shit. They were terrible. So
because they had Jimmy Graham.
You tell me right now, are there more teams in the NFL that are having an easier time building a powerful offense, or more teams in the NFL having an easier time building a good defense? The answer is offense. Everybody's finding a way to build a good offense. So give me a defensive coach, give me an advantage of figuring out some way to slow down those offenses and figure out a way to be a decent offense. And to be honest, the Seahawks offense has been pretty decent this year. Like, they had scored 27 or more points in like 8 of 9 games or something like that. And we're averaging like over 30 points a game. And anyway, so I just think people they like the flavor of the month. And when Sean McVay's won a couple Super Bowls, then I'll feel differently. He's got Wade Phillips as a defensive coordinator, and they still have a terrible defense.
That's a fair point.
Just saying.
Yeah, we overlook a lot of what head coaches do, but I don't want to revisit old fires and get you two going at it. So we'll save that for another day. We can do a whole episode on that.
Can we talk about stuff before you go? Can we talk about? I want to talk about right guard. I know
that was my next transition. Okay, actually,
I'm really interested in what's going to happen there.
So yeah, there were some very obvious news and notes of the week. And if you saw the Seahawks injury report today and yesterday, you might be running somewhere very far away because that looks bad. And obviously, we talked about Posick earlier. Jordan Simmons coming out of that game, he's done for the season. I'm not sure what the injury was exactly, but he was placed on injured reserve. It doesn't seem like DJ Fluker is going to be ready to go for Sunday. You can't go Ethan Posick at right guard, can you, Brian?
Please don't.
Josh, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, how about you, Josh?
Anyone but Posick. Throw Michael Dixon in there before Posick.
You want a little Joey Hunt in there? You want the flowing locks?
Sure. The shortest guy on the team, yeah, Joey Hunt. Put him in there.
Yeah, I mean, I came out after the game and put something out there, and I think that there's some evidence that it might actually turn out to be the way they go, which I would be thrilled at. And that is Simmons is out for the year. We know that. Fluker, I think, is unlikely to play. Postic's a disaster. Well, there's a guy that's on your team that played right guard as a rookie 2 years ago and is actually probably better suited to guard. His name's Jermaine Ifedi. You have a guy in George Fant, who has been playing tight end most of this year, but has actually been arguably your second or third best offensive lineman. And then also, because Fant has been playing essentially tight end outside of Ifedi, they've already kind of been a tackle guard combination in the way they've been used in the offense. So I'm all about sliding Ifedi inside to right guard, playing Fant at right tackle. And here's the thing, guys. If that plays out, one, I think that's your most talented combination there, other than maybe if Fluker comes in. And two, that could be not just a short-term thing. That could be a glimpse of the next 5 years at that part of the line, if they can figure it out. I actually really think Ifedi could be a much better guard than he is a tackle, and I think Fant could be a much better tackle than Ifedi is as a tackle. So I'm looking for any and all ways to get George Fant in at right tackle, and I think there's a chance we might see it for the first time this week.
So is that just a solution until Fluker gets back, or when Fluker gets back, does Fant stay at right tackle?
What do you think, Evan?
Well, I'm just super in that. That is kind of a problem because I think DJ Fluker has played really well this season, and I think he's somebody the Seahawks should absolutely extend. He's on that 1 year deal for like $600K. Great signing by John Schneider, by the way. But I'm super curious to see how Ifedi performs under Mike Solari at right guard because I don't.
Ifedi is back.
Because I can never say his name correctly. He still doesn't kind of deserve it. He's still not that good. But but seriously, I don't think he's had an opportunity to play at right guard since Solari has come in. It could be interesting. He could end up playing really well because didn't they draft him to play right guard? Like, wasn't that the original intention? And then right tackle was just like, oh, for some stupid reason, we're going to put this guy with slow hips and not very good awareness alone in space, and it ended up being a disaster under Tom Cable, but it's been okay under Mike Solari. So, it'll be interesting to have him slide back in there. It could obviously be an issue, though, with DJ Fluker and Jordan Simmons both being pretty good at that position for this team, but I guess more competition is better.
Yeah, I mean, like, Ifedi played right guard and was crappy as a right guard. He was. He's also was really crappy at right tackle, and he has not had Mike Solari as a coach until this year. So I like the idea of him getting some tutelage under Solari at that position. Let's see how he looks. And the guys, I mean, those two, by the way, are best buds. Like, whenever I see them in the off season, whenever I see one of them in the off, they are always together, and they are just massive, massive humans. I'm always struck by how big they are. And so I don't know. I would be really excited to see that. This would be a really interesting test this week, given some of the pass rushers coming in for the Chiefs. I think George Fant, if it turned out that George Fant becomes right tackle and DJ Fluker pushes Ifedi to the bench and Ifedi becomes, I would be okay with that.
So in that case, does that eliminate the George Fant package, or does another lineman take on that role?
Yeah, I heard a lot of people but Fant's been so key to their run game as a tight end, and I love George Fant at tight end. It's fun, but let's be real. I mean, it works for a few reasons. It works because he's way bigger than the average tight end, so he's blocking smaller players that aren't able to deal with what typically is a tight end. Ethan Posick is also much bigger than the normal tight end. So is, anyone else they decide to bring off the bench they could put Jordan Roos there, practice squad guard, and put him there. There's other options that they could put there. They'd all be bigger, or they could do something crazy and play an actual tight end like Nick Vannett and maybe have the chance that someone could really be out in a pattern. And yeah, so I mean, maybe we'll find out that they don't need the extra tight end to run the ball effectively when they have those two in there together. That could be a possibility. So I'm not as worried about the extra, the jumbo package. Ever since they had back in 2013, second half of the NFC Championship game, it was, what's his name? Anthony
Bailey.
or Alvin Bailey.
Yeah.
Bailey. Yeah. Like, you stick some fat guy out there, they'll block somebody.
Fair enough. All right. So next thing on the injury list was Bradley McDougald. It seems like his knees. He was a little weird about his status this week. They sent some guys to that. I don't know how to pronounce the word, but getting that treatment on the knee. Oh yeah, that's a good one. But so McDougald, his status is up in the air, while KJ seems like he's going to be back in starting this week. He's been practicing this week. If McDougald doesn't play against this offense, how worried should we be with Delano Hill and Tedrick Thompson, who also hasn't been practicing as your safeties? Evan, you look dumbfounded, so we'll start with you.
I'll answer for you.
Yeah.
Expect 50+ points by the Chiefs. And I'm not kidding. This safety group without Bradley McDougald is a problem. We have not mentioned how poorly. I don't want to overstate this. Tedrick Thompson has not had a good year. Like he was.
No, overstate it, please.
He's a piece of shit. You cut Tedrick Thompson. I'm tired of him. He was so overhyped in preseason. He was so overhyped. Do you remember all the coaches and all the players being like, "Oh, this guy's gonna take, he's gonna take the reins this year. He's gonna be this season's MVP, breakout candidate." Tedrick Thompson, bullshit. Tedrick Thompson has done nothing. Tedrick Thompson should not be a starter. He is the one thing that annoys me the absolute most about Tedrick Thompson, and it's specifically in relation to the position he plays. Obviously, free safety. You have to be able to tackle well. Tedrick Thompson is such a bad tackler. Like such a bad tackler. Me, myself, 30 pounds overweight, have a better chance of tackling one of those NFL players, and I have a better chance of taking a better angle than Tedrick Thompson. That's how bad at tackling Tedrick Thompson is. I'm done with Tedrick Thompson. I'm done with him. I think if Bradley McDougald is healthy, I think Bradley McDougald should be playing free safety, and I think Delano Hill should be playing strong safety. I think I'd rather have Delano Hill on the field than Tedrick. I really do. I don't even know what the question was. I'm just done with Tedrick.
Amen. I'm with you, man.
I'm done.
He is not even a replacement level player. I was so hoping that I was just completely wrong about him, and that like KJ Wright, I don't know if people remember, but like they have a driving with G segment, G Scott, that they do, and they were doing it in the preseason, and he was asking them, KJ, who's the guy that you're picking to break out this year? And KJ went on and on about Tedrick Thompson. He's like, I've been telling you guys about 33 and since last year, and he's making every play in practice and picking the ball off every time. I should be a GM when I'm done, because I'm like, oh, man. I was like, okay, KJ knows what he's talking about. I should have some more hope. And I don't have more hope. I have no hope at this point. The guy's he's had no shortage of chances this year, and he has just not brought it. He is honestly, the place where he's been worst has been in run defense. And the amount of plays that have broken out for explosive rushes because he is too slow and too poor of a tackler to bring the guy down in space. It's just it's unfortunate. And I hope that John Schneider looks at what he did in that draft and realizes where he went wrong. Like, they used to draft players specifically because they had a really elite trait. They were the fastest at something. They were the tallest. They were the biggest. They were the strongest. Something even like Jamison Kantz back in the day, was like some insane athlete. They didn't know what to do with him, but he was an insane athlete. Tedrick Thompson is not an insane athlete in any way, shape, or form. And I just think that it's a high-risk thing when you pick a guy who's not a great athlete and hope that he can stand out in an NFL, which is full of crazy athletes. So I just, if nothing else, I hope that we don't have to see another pick like that. and I hope they learn a lesson.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Evan more about Tedrick. I don't see what he does well. And Brian, you hit on that. They hyped his ball skills up as his elite trait. I think he had very good interception numbers at Colorado.
Yes.
And
one this year, right?
he is so slow at diagnosing plays. And he's a terrible tackler. If you combine like him, Justin Coleman, and Mingo's tackling this year, it's got to be like 80% of their missed tackles, maybe 90. He's god awful. He's shit. I couldn't agree more with Evan on that one. He's hard to watch, and just watching Earl all those years, you really do. You just forgot about what a replacement. Not Steven Terrell. Everyone hyped up Tedrick as the next guy, and I was kind of excited to see how he would do. I was nervous about him, but that's one thing. Seahawks Twitter, which can be a very, very negative place and very tough sometimes, they nailed this one. How many people wanted George Kittle at that pick, and they took Tedrick Thompson?
Josh, I want you to know, dude, that when people in the chat are saying that Tedrick's going to have 3 picks this week because we're talking so much shit, that you were highly encouraged to use all of the footage and make us look stupid. I would be thrilled.
I know.
To be
at this point.
Okay, moving on. Josh, we'll start with you on this next point. The Pro Bowl came out this week.
Oh God!
And the Pro Bowl is a stupid event. We're all fans here. Fans should have no part in voting at all.
Yeah.
But Josh, I mentioned you because Russell Wilson and you are best friends. Russell Wilson did not make the Pro Bowl. He's one of the highest players ranking in touchdown passes, having one of the best years of his career. And Aaron Rodgers did. I know you probably saw Colin Coward's rant on this. It's probably perfect for your video.
Oh yeah.
Is this something worth getting worked up about anymore, or is it just?
Well, everyone says that you shouldn't care about Pro Bowl. It's because it doesn't matter. It's just a game. It's just a random thing. But the players care about it, and it brings in. It doesn't. Don't they get cash actual money from if they get in?
Thank you, Josh. Thank you for bringing that up because I was going to bring that up. What blows my mind about the Pro Bowl is many players' contracts have incentives tied to making the Pro Bowl. To me, that blows my mind. Why do players agree to that? Okay, all pro, different story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Credible, actually legit. But Pro Bowl is purely a popularity contest. It's whatever the fans are feeling, whatever month. I have no idea. For example, Sherman's salary, actually, his contract pretty significantly adjusted for the next couple of years. It was a couple million or two. Based off of him not making the Pro Bowl. I have no idea why players tie it to
KJ Wright made it this year. I don't even remember the last time I saw him on the field.
He even laughed about it. He said he was saying how dumb it was. KJ Wright's an alternate. He's played 2 games this year, and he's been injured. And
he hasn't even played amazing. He didn't even play that amazing in this.
Well, here's the argument for KJ, dude. Have you seen how bad the Seahawks defense has been with Calicho? It's people are like, Jesus, if that's what the defense looks like without him, how really good is he? So
Doug should take it then.
I'm really curious to see. It sounds like he's going to play this week, by the way. So I'm interested to see. He says he's finally back to full health, so that would be nice to see. Maybe he can play like a Pro Bowler.
We're not talking about the injury to our star running back, Rashad Penny. Why are we not discussing this?
That was next on my list. One at a time. Before that, we need to talk about the best Seahawks draft pick this year, Michael Dixon, making the Pro Bowl. I think the Chiefs special teams coach, who's the most highly regarded special teams coach, is always up for these head coaching jobs. He called his foot a magician today. Too bad Nathan's not here because Nathan hated that draft pick.
Of course,
Brian, we'll give you the floor on this one. Michael Dixon, Pro Bowl, go.
I mean, This is just great because I know how much Ben Baldwin and Nathan loved this pick from the get-go. But like, fuck the Broncos and their front office for laughing when the Seahawks made this trade up to get Dixon. Like, Dixon is, I would say, the third or fourth best defensive player on the Seahawks this year. Like, legitimately. Like Frank Clark, Jaron Reed, Bradley McDougald, Bobby Wagner, and then I'd probably go Michael Dixon. Like the guy's been, I think, over 300 yards difference in field position this year. One player has been worth that much of a difference in terms of field position. And this defense has needed every freaking blade of grass between them and the end zone this season. I think this team would I think you could argue this team would have at least one less win and maybe two less wins if they had the same punting performance they had last year and this defense trying to keep people out of the end zone. So, some of it's tongue in cheek, but I absolutely, when I saw him play in college, I was like, this guy's different. And he's the type of guy that's worth trading for. And I absolutely believe, like, people can say it's hyperbole and crazy. I think he can be the best to ever play. And if you can get in any draft the best player to ever play that position, it's a good freaking pick. I don't care what people say about value of punters in the draft. I think he can be the best to ever play.
Then can we stop hating on the Rashad Penny pick?
What does one have to do with another? They're isolation, dude.
I thought Rashad Penny has a chance to be the greatest ever.
Of the what? Greatest ever? Like what?
Of all running backs.
He has a chance to be the greatest 27th pick in the 2018 draft. I think that's about as high of a bar as I can give him.
It's why we lost last Sunday. He wasn't playing.
God. We had 160 yards rushing. What do you mean?
He has explosive plays every single game he plays, and you know it, Brian.
Oh, God. All right. I'm going to leave this alone. I know where you're going.
All seriousness, though, should we be worried about Penny? They signed Bo Scarborough. I saw a couple of you guys uniquely excited about that pickup.
I don't think it matters if Penny plays or not. I honestly don't. The Seahawks give Chris Carson more carries, and he's twice the player Penny is. And, yes, I think Penny's better than Mike Davis. I'd rather Penny be getting carries than Mike Davis for sure. But, yeah, I don't think that's what wins or loses the game for the Seahawks at this point. I know Evan does, but you can pull out your Youth XL Penny jersey, dude, and knock that on Sunday.
God damn it. It fits well, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, look, I actually really liked Bo Scarborough, and I'm a little bit like hesitant to come out and say that because I'm like, well, he's not really catching on anywhere or doing anything, so maybe I was just like way off. But the guy's like crazy athlete, and he ran over the Huskies and through the Huskies in that game. Like I was like, guy looks like an athlete, and if you give him a hole to run through, he looks like he can hit it pretty well. So I wouldn't mind seeing him get a few reps.
He fits that Deion Jordan role where you just want to see him in the uniform. You don't even care how he plays. You just want to see him in the Seahawks blue.
Yeah. Like he might even be worth a jersey, Evan. But Jeff, we've spent all this time talking about draft picks. We've not talked about maybe the best first-year player, the best rookie on the team. Maybe he's in the conversation.
Jacob Martin?
No. He wasn't actually even drafted, this guy.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going with this.
No.
Do you know, I'm going to double check before I say this.
Oh, I was about to scream his name. Oh.
Puna.
Yeah.
Not sorry, hotel neighbors.
Okay. Top 3 Pro Football Focus rated defenders on the Seahawks for the season. Who's number 1?
Bobby.
Bobby Wagner. That is correct. That is why you're a legend. He has a 92 rating. Anything above 90 is elite. Okay. Number 2 is a trick one.
Bradley McDougal.
Jaron Reed.
Nope.
Frank.
Frank, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Nope. I will tell you that he no longer plays for the Seahawks.
Earl.
God.
Earl Thomas, 91.3. So yeah, sucks not having him. Number 3. Do you want to say his name again there, Evan?
Poon.
That's right. Poona Ford, 89.6 rating by Pro Football Focus. He is like one of the top-rated interior linemen in the entire NFL from Pro Football Focus. And he has had a sneaky good season. The guy's 5'10", like has arms that drag on the ground. Like he's got super long arms. And he's slowly but surely earning more snaps. I mean, I'm really interested to see him play with Jaron Reed, if that's something that they're going to start doing more often, because Jaron Reed is, Jesus, that guy's on the way to having potentially 10 sacks this season at defensive tackle. I don't think I ever expected him to get to that point. And I think the only other guys that have gotten 10 sacks on the interior line for the Seahawks have been John Randall and Cortez Kennedy. I think those are the only 2 defensive tackles to ever record 10 sacks. You can kind of count Michael Bennett, but he played end-to-end tackle, so it's a little bit different. So I don't know. I think Poona Ford deserves some attention and definitely some more playing time.
Yeah, one of the frustrating things for me is that Poona, the snaps, maybe they're just trying to manage him as a rookie, but I think Shamar Stephen has been getting so many snaps over Poona and Naz Jones. Shamar Stephen's like a below replacement level player, and the run defense hasn't been great all year. If you were to just type in Poona's name on Twitter, the kind of highlights you can see just from the last game where he just burst into the backfield, and I think there was 2 plays where he just showed crazy athleticism. And I just know the national media is kind of picking up on him now and just saying like it's absolutely crazy he didn't get drafted, and it's like another Doug Baldwin where they just overlook one quality about him. And this guy's playing. Yeah, PFF has him their 12th best interior player in the whole league. That's on minimum snaps, and I know they were very high on Deion Jordan last year, so take that with a grain of salt. But just I think Poona made 2 of the more impressive plays I've seen all year from a defensive tackle. Just the way he blew up that play in overtime before that god-awful Shaq Griffin penalty. And he looks like a quality player. And to get that as a first-year player, undrafted, this team needed that so bad.
Yeah, I think he's the only defensive lineman in the NFL under 6 feet tall. And as a fellow short dude, I love him for it.
He's doing the belly dance now. He's like they're calling him Little Mebane.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be really interesting to see. We've been, Schneider found another undrafted. He seems to do it every year, and people talk about his drafts all the time. But you look at his undrafted, he's continually found diamonds in the rough. Hey, we've got about 15 minutes left. I feel like we talk about this Chiefs game a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you guys feeling? Josh, how are you feeling heading into this game?
Well, I was apparently unfazed by that 49er game. I feel like it didn't even happen. So I think we're going to honestly, I don't know if we're going to win, but I do think it's going to be like a Rams kind of game where we proved that we can go toe to toe with them. They're obviously going to put up a lot of points. And I think we're going to put up a lot of points. But because I know their defense isn't very good, but yeah, I think we're going to play well. I don't think we're going to win, but I think we're going to actually play well. We're going to surprise people. People are going to bring back their hope.
The hope never left.
Yes.
Seahawks are beating the Chiefs. let me tell you this right now on Sunday Night Football, because Pete Carroll teams play down to their opponent, Brian, and they play up to their opponent. And that's why they're beating the Chiefs on Sunday night. I think the number one key to Sunday night, and I'm not even going to let Brian interject there, is the secondary. Bradley McDougald has to play. Tedrick Thompson has to have a good game. Shaq has to play well. Trey Flowers has to play well. Patrick Mahomes versus that secondary is going to be, I think, the matchup of the game. I think Shaq, who has had an inconsistent year, has to play well for this team to win. I actually, believe it or not, have more faith in Trey Flowers than I do Shaq Griffin right now. And that's a very weird thing to say. But one player we talked about him, but we should hype him up even more. Trey Flowers has had a really good year. A really good year. For a 6th rounder, 5th rounder, something like that. That's impressive. He's a starting level corner, and I think one thing that really impresses me about him actually is his run defending ability. That's a complete random note. But I think the secondary versus Mahomes is going to be the matchup of the game to watch.
Do you guys realize that there is a decent chance that both Tedrick Thompson and Bradley McDougald will not play in this game?
Is Tedrick hurt?
Oh, yeah.
With what?
An injury.
What injury?
I don't know. I can look it up if you really want me to, but he's been on the injury report, and I'll look it up real quick.
Had too many Matador nachos over the weekend?
Oh man, when we gotta send you out in style before you leave. We got to do that.
Let's link up.
Tedrick Thompson, chest/ankle. So apparently his chest is attached to his ankle somehow. That does not sound good. That sounds like that could be really a big problem. But yeah, I mean, if he's out, how do you guys feel about Shalom Luani and Delano Hill against Patrick Mahomes, dude? That's going to be tough. I will agree with you 100%. Trey Flowers played a really nice game against San Francisco, and I think he's improving. He's improving. He's making nice plays on the ball. Like, I'm feeling better about him, and I think KJ, if he plays, I think helps. I think for sure, because anything's going to be better than what the linebacker play we've seen. But I think Kareem Hunt not being there, no matter what anyone says about running backs not mattering, the Chiefs actually are a less explosive offense since Kareem Hunt left. That's true by the numbers. So I think the Chiefs are going to score. I think the Seahawks in general struggle when the other team scores a lot. But I've got the Seahawks winning this game. I think the Seahawks, if you look at the way that the Chiefs played at home against Lamar Jackson and Baltimore, the Ravens ran it down their throats and controlled the ball and slowed down the offense because they didn't have the ball as much. And, of course, the Ravens had a much better defense, but I like the Seahawks' chances in prime time with our pass rushers and our running game against this team. So I think Patrick Mahomes is going to make a couple mistakes, and I think the Seahawks get a win. I'm going to say like 37-31.
Wow. I think the Rams games are a good comparison because they're kind of built in a similar sense that their defense really is pretty bad outside of a few playmaking pass rushers. They're very bad against the run. They're very bad against the pass. So Seattle could, what did they run for, 274 yards on the Rams? I think they can have a similar kind of game, assuming the right guard position isn't a disaster. But those Rams games also showed how great offenses could just pick apart this defense. And Tyreek Hill and his speed against our corners with no safeties, and Travis Kelce, who's a better version of George Kittle, those two scare the shit out of me. And, yeah, I don't know if Russell Wilson's going to need to be superhuman or you're going to need to just run to keep them off the boards, but they're going to need to do a good job against those guys because Andy Reid's offense has had success against this scheme in the past. Those playmakers are awesome. The speed of Tyreek Hill is like no one else in terms of his speed, and Kelsey's a beast, and he's fast, and he's a better player than Kittle. So they're going to need to do something defensively. And that, you're right, it's going to be on the pass rushers. They're going to need those guys to take over the game, or else I think it's going to be a similar close game to those Rams games. But right now, my gut says a close loss.
So, how many yards is Chris Carson going to run for against the worst run defense in the NFL?
150.
Oh, I was going to say 150 also.
That takes him over 1,000 for the season. Dude's had quite a year. And yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be an interesting game. I think the Seahawks are rightfully not favored. I think the Chiefs have been one of the top 3 teams in the NFL all year, no doubt about it. Their offensive unit, generally, you guys know, hopefully, my rule of who I think is going to win a Super Bowl every year is whoever has the most dominant unit, whether it's an offense or a defense. That is usually the one that wins it all. You could argue the Chiefs' offense has been the most dominant one side of the ball throughout the NFL this year. Yeah, I think it sets up well for the Seahawks. I think they'll play well. If they don't, my consolation prize is that Jeff and I get to be right, hopefully, about the Seahawks win total on the season, when Evan will be wrong after gloating.
So actually, on that note, Brian, I'm going to steer this in a little bit of a different direction. Number one, the Chiefs are going to lose to the Seahawks on Sunday Night Football. And when they do, Brian, you are actually going to celebrate at Daniel's Broiler next week, because the whole team has chipped in to purchase a $250 gift card for you and your wife to Daniel's Broiler. One thing that all the audience members don't know is that you do, well, maybe they do know, you do a ton of work for the entire team. You do a ton of work to run the site, do all your wonderful tweeting, tweeting bullshit stuff at me. We love you for it. But you do a ton of work. We're super grateful for you. So just know we're giving you that gift card next week. You'll get that to, enjoy.
Oh my God.
A couple bottles
That's
of
amazing.
wine.
That is so not necessary, but that makes it all the more appreciated. So
It was actually, I believe it may have been Nathan's idea or Jeff. I'm not sure. I'm just the one to announce it.
That's amazing. Thank you guys. It's not going to help my my fitness goals, but it's going to help my happiness.
That's what New Year's resolutions are for.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Well, let's definitely figure out if we can get the Matador Nacho thing figured out as well. We got to get Evan sent off the proper way. For folks that don't know, he's moving to Arizona with his lovely bride. So that will not be a public event, although I try to get Evan to be a little bit more public. But if you haven't already, make sure you're sending good wishes Evan and Alex's way. What haven't we covered, guys? What's left?
Can we quickly talk about the Sebastian Janikowski missed tackle? I'm a little pissed.
I didn't really see that. I saw him running by him and not really. I just guess I don't really think about kickers ever really making tackles other than Steven Hauschka, who's like a boss. But
he didn't even try.
Yeah, he could have slowed him down a little.
He didn't even try.
Yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how angry are you about that?
Like 10 being super angry?
Yeah.
Probably like an 8.
Wow.
I mean, he was the last line of defense, and if he had put in maybe like 2% of effort, would have been 7 less points. But no, Bryant or whatever's Janikowski, whatever his name is, 42 years old and 400 pounds overweight, just ran into the sidelines onto the bench and didn't give a shit. If he had given 2% of effort, would have been 7 less points. He cost the Seahawks 8 points on Sunday. I'm not happy with him.
Yeah. I don't have much to say because I don't really give a shit about what kickers do and when they're tackling. Like, I'm much more annoyed with the fact that Brian Schneider should have been replaced as special teams coach when they replaced everybody else, and this whole ridiculousness of kicking it short because they think that they can cover well enough to get the guy down at the 20 instead of taking a touchback and get him at the 25. That's what cost them the 7 points. Kick the ball in the goddamn end zone. Like it's not a hard thing to do. Janikowski can do it. And he did it the rest of the game just fine once they decided to do that. But it's a perfect example of outthinking, like and overthinking. Just kick the ball out of the end zone and play football. That's my take.
Michael Dixon would have made that tackle.
Thank you.
You're right. Do you remember his he did like that Spider-Man like jiu-jitsu like spun around tackle? Who was that against? Like he like jumped on him like all fours.
With his leg, can you just kick it out the back of the end zone every time?
I know, right?
Yeah, I don't know. That was super annoying.
They also kind of wasted Dixon's punts. That pissed me off also. They pinned them inside the one twice.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything with it.
Is it just me, or even back when the Seahawks defense was really, really good? Because they never can get a 3-and-out after they pin a guy back. They always seem to let people out of the end zone.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pete Carroll.
No.
Okay, well, I guess we forgot what we were wrong about.
What we were wrong about.
We have time for that. That one might take a while.
Yeah, we could do this pretty quick, I think.
I was wrong about running the table.
Yeah.
As in a row. Congratulations, Evan.
I was wrong about Ethan Posick being a decent third string guard. I was like, when he came in, I wasn't that nervous. I was like, all right, he's not the greatest, he's not the strongest, but he held up actually decently in pass protection earlier this year. He just was not a strong run blocker. So I was like, he'll be fine. He was awful, like awful. So I was definitely wrong about that.
I'd say I was wrong about the 49ers in general. They looked like a hopeless team when they played in Seattle. They looked like a team that had quit on the season. Other than Mullins, who's got most of his yards in garbage time, they looked like a team just who had given up. And just watching that post-game stuff with Sherman and all those guys jumping around, I didn't see that coming. And the schedule's dumb to have them play twice in 3 weeks. But I thought the Seahawks would roll them. I was wrong about that.
I got a double dip on what I was wrong, and then I'll let you go, Josh, and you can give what you were wrong about. But this is well, I'll just say it. So I was wrong. I actually previewed the Seahawks 49ers game in Seattle and thought that was going to be a much closer game than anyone expected, and had all the reasons why it was going to be a tough matchup and why the 49ers matched up well with the Seahawks. And then they blew them out. And I was like, I must have just been way off. Everything I wrote is what came true in the second game. So I was wrong in which game I wrote that preview for, because I didn't write a preview for this game. So stupid me.
So you guys don't see what I have thought about because it's my first podcast, but I was super, super, super into Deion Jordan. I thought he was going to be because he was so good at the end of last year. He was like that one play against the Cardinals where he just
rush.
Yeah. Oh my God. Just that one play got me so hyped for the next year. And he has been I haven't seen hardly anything from him all year. And I'm super, because he looks like just looking at him, he looks like he could be a Hall of Famer, but he's done nothing. Yeah,
he's a duck. So, I mean, Will's not on this week to defend him, but that's probably part of what's going on there.
Yeah.
So, hey, fellas. Josh, it was great having you on, man. It was great. This is our first chance meeting you in person other than on Twitter. It's great to see you. Your story has been awesome to watch. It's going to be awesome to continue. We want updates on how your Super Smash Bros. Game goes with Russell.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be all over Twitter when it happens. He said he's going to stream it there. So you'll be able to see it when it happens. So you'll know when it happens.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
And Evan and the fellas, thank you so much for the gift. That's really thoughtful. Really appreciate it. And I will cancel the order of the Tom Cable jersey that I have for you. I'll get you something that you actually want now. So thank you.
That's Solari jersey.
All right, folks. It's been fun. We're going to wrap it there. And, man, it's going to be a fun game on Sunday. You know, whatever happens, it's freaking December, week 16, and the Seahawks are playing for something. I did not expect that this year. This team has been way more fun than I expected. Whoever is out there, it's going to be a great, great night. So enjoy. And if we don't talk to you until after the Christmas celebration, hope everyone has a Merry Christmas that's celebrating it. Cheers and go Hawks.